The 2-hour rule is a lie of convenience. Not a malicious one, but a lazy one, and it has been quietly stranding travelers over 70 for years. Somewhere along the line, the entire flying world agreed to repeat the same flat number to everybody, arrive 2 hours early, as if a frail 80-year-old crossing the country, and a nimble 40-year-old hopping one state over should somehow plan their morning identically. They shouldn't. The real arithmetic, the math the airlines and the gate agents actually run in their heads, depends on at least 6 moving parts, and for an older traveler, the flat 2 hours is sometimes far too much wasted sitting and sometimes dangerously missed flight to little. Today, I'm giving you the real formula, rule by rule. You're not lacking the ability to time a flight. You've just been handed a number too blunt to be useful. And the rule near the end, the one about mobility, is the one that quietly costs seniors their flights more than any other. A quick, honest aside before the rules: every airport runs at its own rhythm and conditions change by the hour. So treat this as a smarter way to think, not a guarantee carved in stone. When in doubt, lean earlier. Now let's fix the math. The first rule is simple, and it dismantles the whole myth in one stroke. There is no single number, because the clock that matters isn't your arrival time at the curb. It's your arrival time at the gate, ready to board. That's the real deadline. The 2-hour rule pretends the only variable is when you walk in the door. Wrong. The true equation is, how long does it take you, specifically you, to get from the curb to your seat on the plane? Everything else is just adding up the pieces of that journey. So from this moment, stop thinking 2 hours before the flight and start thinking, what time must I be sitting at my gate? Then work backward through every step it takes to get there. Once you think that way, the right number reveals itself. The second rule adds the first real variable: domestic or international. These are 2 completely different animals, and treating them the same is where the flat rule first cracks. For a domestic flight, you're dealing with check-in, security, and the walk to your gate. For an international flight, you're stacking on passport control, sometimes additional document checks, often a larger and more sprawling terminal, and longer lines at every stage. Here's why this matters so much after 70. International travel means more standing, more lines, more documents to manage, and more distance to cover, all of it taxing your energy before you've even left the ground. A domestic morning hop might genuinely need only 90 minutes of cushion for a sharp, well-prepared senior at a small airport. An international departure can easily demand 3 hours, sometimes more. Gordon's neighbor learned this the painful way, but let me give you a real one. Wander, 70, a retired switchboard operator, applied her trusty 2-hour rule to an international flight out of a major hub. She'd used 2 hours her whole life, and it always worked. This time, passport control alone ate 50 minutes. The terminal was a half-mile of walking she hadn't budgeted for, and she reached the gate as the doors were closing. She missed it. Rebooking cost her a change fee and a 6-hour wait, and the stress of it left her wrung out for the rest of the trip. 2 hours was right for her old domestic habits. It was nowhere near enough for international. Match the cushion to the journey. The third rule layers in the airport itself, because not all airports are remotely equal. A small regional airport, you can walk from curb to gate in 15 minutes on a quiet morning. A giant international hub is practically a city, with trains between terminals, security lines that snake for half an hour, and gates a 15-minute walk from the checkpoint even after you're through. For an older traveler, airport size is not a detail, it's the whole ballgame. The distance from security to your gate at a sprawling hub can be longer than some people walk in a week, and at the far end of it you still have to board a plane and fly. So the rule is this: scale your cushion to the airport. Small and familiar, you can trim your buffer. Large, unfamiliar, or a known busy hub, you add to it generously. And here's a piece of insider arithmetic most travelers never run. Factor the time of day and day of week. Early morning waves and Monday business rushes pack the security lines. A mid-afternoon Tuesday is a ghost town by comparison. Same airport, same gate. Wildly different math depending on when you arrive. We're 3 rules in, and notice what's happening. The flat number is gone. In its place, you're building a real, personal estimate, piece by piece. If you've ever sat bored for 2 hours at one airport and sprinted breathless through another, this is exactly why. Keep going, because the next rules are where the time you save or lose gets serious. Ralph, 72, a retired milkman, arrived with what he thought was plenty of time, then discovered his identification didn't meet the current requirement for his flight. The scramble to sort it out swallowed 40 minutes he hadn't planned for, and he made his flight by a whisker, heart pounding. The lesson costs you nothing to learn. Settle your documents and your check-in before you leave the house. Every minute you handle at home is a minute you don't fight for at the airport. Verify your ID requirements well in advance, and you delete an entire category of risk. The 5th rule is the one almost nobody calculates honestly, and it's the most important one for travelers over 70, your own pace. The flat 2-hour rule assumes everyone moves at the same speed. You and I both know that's not how it works. After 70, you may walk more deliberately, you may need to stop and rest. You may need a restroom on the way, a moment to catch your breath, time to manage a bag. None of that is a weakness. It's simply real, and the math has to include it. Here's the trap. Seniors apply a number built for a hurried 30-year-old and then feel rushed, flustered, and panicked when their actual pace doesn't fit it. So you build your pace into the formula on purpose. If a younger traveler needs 45 minutes from curb to gate at a given airport, you might honestly need 75, and that is completely fine. Add that difference in deliberately with no embarrassment whatsoever. The goal is to arrive at your gate calm and rested, not to win a race nobody's running. A traveler who plans for their real pace arrives composed. A traveler who pretends to be 25 arrives frazzled, or doesn't arrive in time at all. The 6th rule is the big one, the one I promised, and it rewrites the timeline entirely. If you need any mobility assistance, the math changes completely in your favor, but only if you arrange it right. The moment a wheelchair, an escort, or terminal assistance enters the picture, the flat 2-hour rule becomes meaningless, because now your timing depends on coordinating with the airline's assistance service, and that service has its own rhythm. Here's the part that costs seniors their flights, and it's the opposite of what you'd guess. When you request assistance properly and in advance, you often move through the airport faster than you would on your own, because the attendant knows the shortcuts, skips you to the front of security lines, and delivers you straight to your gate. But when you arrive needing assistance and haven't arranged it, you wait. Sometimes a long time, for an attendant to become available, and that wait can swallow your whole cushion and your flight with it. So you arrange it ahead of time when you book, and again when you arrive, you request it clearly. At the counter you say, "I'd like to arrange wheelchair assistance from check-in all the way to the gate, please." And if it's a connection you're worried about, you add, "I have a connecting flight and I'm requesting assistance to get between gates. Please." This is your right under accessibility rules. It's free and arranged in advance. It can actually shorten your timeline rather than stretch it. The travelers who get stranded are the ones who assumed they'd sort it out on the day. Arrange it early and assistance becomes your fast lane. The 7th rule pulls the whole formula together into something you can actually use. Here is the real math, the way to build your number every single time. Start at your boarding time, not your departure time, because the gate closes before the plane leaves, often 15 to 30 minutes before. That's your true deadline. Now work backward. Add the walk from security to your gate. Add your security weight, scaled to the airport's size and the time of day. Add check-in if you have a bag to drop. Add your personal pace, honestly. Add the buffer for anything unexpected, a long line, a gate change, a rest stop. And if you've arranged mobility assistance, fold its coordination in. Add those pieces up, and the sum is your real arrival time. Sometimes it lands near 2 hours. Sometimes 90 minutes, sometimes 3. But it's yours, built from your reality, not a number someone repeated because it was easy. And the 8th rule is the gentle wisdom that wraps around all the arithmetic. When the math is close, round up. The cost of arriving too early is a cup of coffee and a comfortable seat by the window, watching the planes. The cost of arriving too late is a missed flight, a rebooking fee, hours of waiting, and the kind of stress that ruins the first day of a trip. After 70, that exhaustion isn't a passing annoyance, it can shadow your whole journey. So when in doubt, give yourself the extra margin, arrive calm, arrive rested. Use the spare time to find your gate, rest your legs, and breathe. The best timed arrival isn't the one that cuts it closest. It's the one that lets you board feeling like yourself. So look at what you're holding now, not a number somebody handed you, but a method. You start at your boarding time and work backward. You weigh domestic against international. You scale to the airport size and the hour of the day. You settle your documents at home. You honor your own real pace without a shred of apology. You arrange your assistance early so it carries you forward instead of holding you back. And when it's close, you round up and arrive in peace. That's not arriving 2 hours early, that's arriving exactly right, every time, for you. The 2-hour rule was never built for you. It was built for an average that doesn't exist, and it left older travelers either bored stiff or running for a closing gate. Now, you've got the formula the rule was always hiding, and you'll never have to guess again. You'll plan your mornings like the seasoned, capable traveler you are, with your number, for your trip, at your pace. So here's what I'd love. Tell me your tightest airport, the one that always stresses you, and let's compare notes. Because the traveler reading right after you might fly out of that same terminal next week, your timing wisdom could save their flight. We figure this out best together, swapping the real math no 2-hour rule ever taught us. Share what you've learned. Someone out there needs exactly your story to make their next trip a calm one.